Good evening, friends. How are you? Happy New Year. I cannot believe that we are here in 2023, 2 weeks in, but we're here. I am your host, Joyce Ozeh, and welcome to Cultivate Your Mental Wealth, where I invite you to move from a place of mental illness to a place of mental wellness, and from a place of mental wellness to a place of mental abundance. Mental wellness is the bare minimum. We were designed for abundance because when we receive and are living in the mental overflow, we can give in the overflow to our community. And that's what I am so excited about. And I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to old friends. Welcome to new friends. Thank you for coming to the room. I want to reintroduce myself. I am a Nigerian American civil rights attorney in Chicago. And I am also a mental health advocate. I practiced disability law for many years. I am also someone with lived experience of anxiety and depression specifically. So, welcome to the show. So happy to have you here. I want you to know that we have so many goodies in store for you today. We are going to have audience check-ins. That's right. There will be a couple times throughout the show where I get to check in with you, see how you're doing, see your thoughts, so that this can be more of a discussion. We also are going to talk about mental health and New Year's resolutions. I hope y'all aren't too overwhelmed by that yet. Please tell me that you're still pumped for your New Year's resolutions. I'm pumped for mine. And after we talk about just how our mind works with goal setting and goal breakdowns, we're also going to give you a sneak peek on what to expect during our next segment on January 24th. And then we're going to segue into the part of the show that I like to call practical pushes towards wellness. This isn't just a space where we have fluffy conversations. We want you to go into the world, thrive, move, change, and just be restored in your mind. So that is our rundown. Let me know where you're watching from, where you're calling in from. And I think for the first check-in, you can drop as we're talking. I want you to let me know how your holidays went. How was it being with family? How was it being with friends? Were you able to slow down and check in with yourself? Because it doesn't really matter if you're celebrating and moving around if you don't get the opportunity to check in with yourself, especially in the new year. So drop some comments. Let me know where you're from. Let me know how your holidays have been, and I will definitely shout you out, connect with you in a little bit. And as you guys are commenting, I want to just do some housekeeping. I call it setting the room because this is our room, our space, our conversation. Throughout the course of this season, this year, we are going to have some guest speakers. I'm going to introduce y'all to some of my girlfriends to talk mental wellness, to talk how to live it out every day. But first and foremost, this is a conversation for all of us. And you are invited into this room, invited into the conversation, and I am so happy to have you. So let's check in. Maria, I see that you're calling from Montgomery, Alabama. Hey, I have family down south, so I love a Southern girl. Thank you so much for joining the space and joining the room. So there's no way around it but through it. I want to get through and get to New Year's resolutions and your mind. I know that a lot of y'all have heard New Year, New Me. And sometimes it can be kind of cliche, right? Because they can just be hashtags that we put under our posts or things that we tell people we're going to do and we don't actually do. What about this? New year, same you, but new narrative. I'm going to tell y'all something that my mom told me a lot growing up, and I strongly believe that it rings true. People kind of are who they are from birth. It doesn't mean that we cannot improve ourselves or change for the better, but fundamentally, our personalities, our identities, our characteristics and quirks, they are deposited in us by our creator, and they are part of our natural, powerful, unique design. So that's why I like to call the new year an opportunity for a new narrative and not a different you. And new as in taking off all of those layers, all of those cages of the mind that keep you from being who you were designed to be. I want you to remove all of the mental limitations that tell you you have to be who you were last year, 3 months ago, or even this morning. You do not have to be who you've always been. And this is the opportunity for you to write a new narrative by discovering your actual purpose. And that narrative starts with the mind. And that is why I will forever be passionate about mental wellness and mental abundance, because everything that we've set out to do starts with our minds. However, I challenge you all to get uncomfortable. This is a part of New Year's resolutions that I don't think people talk about enough. It just sounds really cute to make all these goals. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. I'm going to save all this money. I'm going to go to the gym. But if you aren't willing to get uncomfortable, you can never achieve the goals that you set out for yourself. Everything that you've wanted are just beyond the limitations that you've put for yourself or that society has placed on you. And again, those limitations have their origins in your minds, because the way you think affects how you behave, and your behavior is linked obviously to actions. So if your mind isn't right, your behavior can't be right and it can't change, and you won't be able to meet your goals. And the reason why you necessarily have to get uncomfortable is because in order to do something different, it's going to require different boundaries, different environments, different scenes. Have you ever seen a butterfly come out of a cocoon? It has to break and stretch and break down the walls for it to become this new thing. That is not a comfortable process. So as we're approaching these New Year's resolutions, as we are expanding our minds, getting a new mindset, some people are talking about dumping limited belief systems, we have to get used to or get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Don't let this scare you. First of all, I'm on this journey this year with you, so you have community. Everyone in this room is a part of you and part of this community, but also let it excite you. Let it thrill you. If your goals for yourself this year don't kind of intimidate you and thrill you, you are not dreaming big enough. And I want to talk about how we balance our mental health with our New Year's resolutions. Now that we've talked about getting uncomfortable, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, how do we balance our mental health with these goals that we're setting? So, I was surprised to find that some scientific studies have shown that New Year's resolutions increase anxiety and stress. How many of you guys knew that? How many of y'all feel anxiety and stress when you're setting New Year's resolutions, or when you're about to go into the new year and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I have to make all these goals and I have to be a different version of myself? Let me know if you kind of relate to that anxiety and stress. The response to the stress and the anxiety that can, not always, but can accompany setting new goals for the new year is not to just avoid goal setting. That is not how we grow. That is not how we progress. That is not how we live in a place of mental wellness and a place of mental abundance. But the response to the anxiety and stress that come with goal setting should actually be to look at how important it is for our minds when we set goals. So let's look at that. I'm always going to talk about some science and faith because I do not think that they're mutually exclusive. And everything that we discuss here, although I'm a mental advocate, I am not a doctor. I love reading articles. I love science. I'm married to a science guy. So science is something that I get really excited about. And I'm always going to hit y'all with some scientific facts and also with faith. It is scientifically proven, I bet you didn't know this, that setting goals actually restructures our brain cells. Setting goals can restructure the way our brain is set up. There's an article by the Behavioral and Cognitive Neuroscience Review that says the part of your brain that creates emotions is called the amygdala. Amygdala. Yes, I did Google how to pronounce that so that I could pronounce it correctly tonight. So the amygdala is really cool because when you're setting a goal, it triggers the amygdala, and the amygdala is a part of your brain that evaluates the significance of that goal. The other part of your brain that is utilized, deployed during goal setting is your frontal lobe. Your frontal lobe is triggered when you're setting a goal because the frontal lobe defines the specifics of goal setting. So you have the amygdala, which is in charge of your emotions, which says, I think you should prioritize saving money over weight loss. And then it's your frontal lobe that says, okay, what are the specifics of how Joyce is going to save money this year? The two of those working in tandem, working together, actually change the structure of your brain cells because it allows you to now work in a way that is focused and that you're able to achieve your goals. What does that have to do with mental wellness? I'm going to tell you. Because apart from how goal setting changes your brain structure, did you know there's also an importance when it comes to your mental wellness and breaking down your goals? Studies have shown that when you are able to achieve a task, dopamine is released in your brain whenever you achieve a big goal. What's dopamine? Some of y'all know what that is. Dopamine is what I like to call the feel-good chemical because it feels good. The part of your brain that lets you feel pleasure and satisfaction and motivation, that is the chemical dopamine. That same chemical that sometimes we find in drugs, sometimes is released when we partake in alcohol. Did you know that same chemical is released in your brain when you achieve a goal? And that is a way to kind of surge your dopamine levels and get to a place of mental wellness because you're feeling good about moving forward, about getting things done. This is why I love to break down the tasks that I have to do. I have a to-do list. If I had time, I would show you my journal, which is a daily planner where I have tasks broken down. The task can be as simple as read Karen's email, follow up to Karen's email. I write those tasks separately so that every time I do a little something, I get to cross it off and dopamine surge in my brain. This encourages mental wellness, mental satisfaction, and it gives me motivation to continue to get things done during the day. So let's talk about the practice of breaking down our larger goals so that we can trigger dopamine, make our goals more achievable, and get to a place of mental wellness. You can practice this by setting small, measurable, and realistic goals. Let's look at an example. Let's say that your goal for the year, and mind you, I want y'all to be dropping not only where you're from, but what some of your goals this year are. I'm going to share some of mine, so let's just have a little conversation during our next check-in. Okay, so What if your goal is, I'm going to do more reading this year? This is not a measurable, articulable, achievable, or realistic goal because it's just too vague. What does it mean to do more reading? Okay, well, then what about the example? I haven't read any books in the past couple years, so I'm going to go from reading 0 books to 20 books this year. That's too large of a goal. It is not measurable in the way that it needs to be because you're going from 0 to 20 without setting anything in between to achieve that goal. What does that do to our brains? That overwhelms our brains. It overstimulates our brains. It's why before the end of January or like right before February, 43% of people will have failed at their New Year's resolutions. And it's because their goals are not measurable, articulable, and realistic. And they're not any of those above things because they're not broken down in a way that people can actually meet or reach them. So a better way to break down your goals is to say, okay, I know that I want to read 10 books this year. How do I get to doing that? I'm going to read for 10 to 15 minutes every day. Guess what you're doing? You are breaking down your goals into smaller tasks. And guess what? Every day that you read for 10 to 15 minutes, you get to cross that off your list and you get that hit of dopamine, not because you finished the book, but because you finished that smaller task that is leading to the larger goal. Does that make sense? Let me know what y'all think about that. And let me know if you can relate to already feeling fatigued or overwhelmed by the goals you set or being too overwhelmed to even set goals yet. I understand both of those things. So some of you guys haven't set goals. Some of us have set goals, but are kind of slipping on the goals. Let's talk about mental health and consistency when it comes to goal setting for the year. Like I said, 43% of people will have already failed at their New Year's resolutions before February hits. How many of you guys have already been struggling with inconsistency with your goals? I've been to the gym once this year, and I used to go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. So I know that consistency has been a struggle for me, and it's only week 2 of the new year. But we thank God for grace. We give a lot of grace to ourselves, and we'll talk a little about that in our practical pushes. But did you know that our brains are wired to favor routine over newness? What does that mean? Even if something is unhealthy, not that good for us, because it's a part of our routine, our brains are wired to want to do that thing. Let's say that you grew up eating a lot of TV dinners. I'm not against all frozen foods or TV dinners, but a lot of TV dinners are really high in sodium and just affect us in ways that are not healthy. In a segment coming up, we're going to talk about how the things we eat affect our gut, which affects our mind. Our gut health is connected to our mental health. So eating food that is high in sodium, high in processed chemicals actually affects your mental health. So if our brains are wired to favor routine, even if it's not healthy, the way that we combat not being consistent with our goals is to build in our goals into our already established routines. What does that mean and what does that look like? You want to listen to more podcasts this year, podcasts by Black podcasters, because you want to support our people and you want to learn a little bit more. But listening to a podcast is kind of hard to do if you haven't done that before. Or you want to listen to more audiobooks this year or listen to more sci-fi books. but reading is not that fun to do if you haven't really gotten into a schedule of it. You can actually listen to a podcast when you're already taking a shower, because a shower every day should be a part of your daily routine. It's already established. So sneaking in one of your goals, like listening to an audiobook, listening to a sermon online, listening to a podcast. Some people want to read more of the Bible this year. There are audio versions of the Bible. What about if you're driving to work, which you already do as part of your routine, you put in the audio version of the Bible, or you put in a podcast, or you listen to an audiobook. That is a way of remaining consistent with your goals because you're sneaking it into something that you already do every day as part of our routine. Our brains are wired for routine. So if you are doing something new, replace a habit with one that is going to meet your goals. You want to start eating better, and you are one to snack close to bedtime. Instead of totally eliminating snacking by bedtime, what if you replace what you're eating with something that's going to meet your goals? Like a piece of fruit, like some fresh veggies, raw vegetables, cut them up, eat them with hummus. There are so many ways to sneak in your goals into an already established routine. Also, make it fun. Make your New Year's resolution fun. I sometimes get nervous when it comes to the new year because resolutions sound so big. But what you need to do is reprogram the way your brain thinks about your goals. Remember, those of you who have been watching since November, we talked about affirmations and how the words we speak out loud change our attitude and our mind about ourselves. The same happens with changing your mind towards your goals. Your goals are only achievable if you change your attitude towards it. If you want to go to the gym more, you cannot be rolling your eyes as you put on your sweatpants and as you get into your car and go to the gym. I dare you to dance. When you're like, I have to go to the gym, do a little dance about it. I can't wait to go to the gym. I'm excited to go and move my body. I can't wait to get my blood pumping and my blood going. Let me tell you a little secret. Your brain cannot tell when you're faking it. Your brain cannot tell when you're faking it. Speak words that are positive towards your goals, and your feelings will catch up to those words. Speak words that are positive towards your goals, and your feelings will catch up to it. You learned how to be negative about the gym, which means you can learn how to be excited and positive about it. No feeling is final. Every emotion is learned when it comes to your goals and who you want to be. So fear around your goals are learned. You can unlearn that fear and replace it with excitement. And the more you speak excitement and life into your goals, the more your brain starts to realize and trigger, whenever we're going to the gym, her body starts moving, she starts dancing, and it will start to release dopamine and an excitement as it comes to your goals. Make it fun, guys. Goals should be fun because you're moving to a better you and a new you. And I want to now go into the part of our segment where I check in with the audience. I see some of y'all posting. I can't wait to have our little discussion before we go into our next part of the show. Karen, oh, you're watching from the South Burbs. I actually went to high school in the South Burbs. My mom lives in the South Burbs. I love a suburban gal. And yes, you were talking about new mindset and dumping your limited belief system. That's exactly right. You cannot progress if you're married to who you used to be and to the things that used to limit you. So make sure that you, as you're starting a new year, clean all the old cobwebs of your mind. Thank you so much for that, Karen. You also talk about how you joined a coaching program for getting a closer and consistent relationship with God. Awesome. And a separate program regarding self-development. That is so important. I can honestly say that intimate relationship with God, talking to God regularly, That is the only way that I've been able to meet my goals, because man, it is hard to do it on your own. Get a community. This is one of them. We are accountability partners. We are community. Get someone who can pour into your life and help you as you want to meet your goals. And get uncomfortable with what's comfortable. Regina Fudge, thank you so much for joining. And I see that you didn't set goals this year. And man, do I feel you. Because at the end of the year, if you haven't set any goals, you don't have a way of disappointing yourself. But do you know what's more disappointing than never trying? It's coming to the end of the year and knowing that you were limited by fear. And I really relate to you. I can't tell you how sick I get sometimes when it's the new year and I had to think about setting a new goal. But remember that fear is learned. You don't have to live in a place of fear. When you change your mindset towards the goal, by speaking affirmations, by getting excited, your feelings are going to follow the words that you speak. Your mind is going to change, and you're going to have a different relationship with goal settings, because you deserve to be the best version of yourself. You don't deserve mediocre. You don't deserve fear. You deserve the best. And Letha, affirmations rock. Yes, I agree. I love affirmations. I say them often. I say them out loud so I can hear them and get to a more positive place. I am so glad to have y'all with us. For those of you who join later, feel free to comment. For those watching you on YouTube, if you comment on Facebook, blackdoctor.org, their Facebook page, on this segment, I will follow up to every single comment personally. So make sure you get on and that you comment, and we can continue our conversation offline. So what's up next? We have a segment January 24th, same time, same place, where we'll talk about mental health and how to talk to your family members about the mental health issues that you're experiencing. Or maybe you have a loved one that is experiencing mental health issues. How do you walk with them in that? How do you connect with them? How do you help them? Let's get into it next time, January 24th, 7 p.m. Central, so that we can look more about how mental health affects families and how to have those discussions with our family members. Roxy, thank you so much for joining. I love a Georgia Peach. We're so happy to have you. Okay, so now it's time for one of my favorite parts of the show, and that is when we get into our practical pushes for wellness. Stay tuned. So I got 3 things for y'all, some practical pushes towards wellness, towards getting in the right mindset so that you can achieve your goals and be the best version of yourself, mentally, physically, all of it, but it starts with your mind. First, write down the vision, make it plain. That is actually scripture, biblical. Habakkuk 2, and that's 2 through 3. But that is our first push. Write down the vision. Map out your long-term goals and then work backwards from those goals. So I wanted to read 12 books last year. And what I did was I worked backwards every day, and I made it so that every day I was reading a few chapters a day, every single day. That helped me achieve a long-term goal because I worked from long-term to short-term. If you say you want to lose 50 pounds by the end of the year, set that goal as your long-term goal, work backwards. What are you going to be eating every day? Map out your meals for the week. Map out your gym schedule for the week. Long-term goals, then work backwards. Get a daily planner too, so that you can tick things off the list and get that dopamine surge that we were talking about. Trick your brain with to-do lists. And that's a way for you to make sure that you achieve what you want to achieve by the end of the year. Also, if you don't schedule things, it's not going to happen. You need to be intentional about your goals, which is why it's important to write them down and make them plain. Decide how you want to use your time, or others will decide for you. Decide how you want to use your time, or others will decide for you. Next, I want you to set a time in your calendar every week to go over your goals. This can be 5 minutes, this can be 10 minutes, but every week you should be checking in with yourself. How did this week go? What worked for me in the achievement of my goals? What didn't work for me? Check in with yourself every week so you can determine how you're doing in each week and make it so that it's on your calendar. Lastly, don't be afraid to change course. We do not operate in fear in this space. Fear is a natural emotion, and we recognize fear, but we do not remain in fear because fear is a limiter. And remember, in this space, in this room, and in the world, we are going to a place of mental wellness and abundance, and that excludes fear. Sometimes you're going to do something like, I want to go hiking every weekend, and I'm going to hike for 30 minutes on a Friday. You get out there and you realize hiking isn't your thing. That's okay. It is okay to change course as you're navigating towards your goal, but only change course after a few months, I recommend, of consistency. If you're saying, I wanted to lose weight and I'm not losing any weight, and it's been 2 weeks, that's not long enough. Remember that we are changing here. Change takes time, patience, and grace. Give yourself all of that as you are going about your goal setting. But if something is not working after some months of consistency, don't be afraid. Nothing is set in stone. You are allowed to change course and find habits and routines that work towards your goal. Remember, you're undoing the old thing so that you can be a new thing, and you deserve it. Let the journey be gentle. Let it be gentle and intentional. Try it, all of the 3 tips, and until we see again, I want you to go thrive. Thank you for joining, friends. Talk soon.